welcome into the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is B-Word and Jake. Happy National Batman Day, bro.
I'm Batman. I'm here.
I'm Batman.
Is that good? See, okay, there you go. All right, do you do a better Batman or a Joker voice?
Oh, dude, I do a much better Batman than a Joker voice.
Let me hear your Joker real quick.
Fuck, dude. Would you like to know how I got these scars?
Oh my god, it is bad.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible, dude. It's fucking terrible. I would much rather do a shitty Batman voice than an extremely shitty Joker voice.
Good, very, very good call. But happy Batman Day, B-Word. I'm very excited.
Dude, we've been looking forward to this episode for a little while. Obviously, you and I are huge fans of almost everything fandom, right? So DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Transformers, Star Wars, like
Nerd shit.
Anything nerdy, right?
Right.
But Batman's like the cream of the crop, dude. Like Batman's almost one of those superheroes that you just can't ignore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's the biggest superhero in the world. I know there's probably analytics out there that it goes between him, Superman, and Spider-Man, right?
I think it depends on genre, but yeah, I think it's between those three.
But Batman to me is the biggest superhero. I mean, he was the first superhero I fell in love with. That's being truthfully honest. Everything about it, I think, the other reason he's a normal guy, he's just rich and just wants to kick some ass, which I think is what makes him so lovable. Like I hate Superman. So this is the other reason I'm a big Batman guy. I hate Superman. I think it's the shittiest character in all
because
comics.
He's an alien.
Well, no, it's because he could do anything. It's like they're like, hey, what's your character do? Oh, he's faster than bullets. Okay, you can't shoot at him. Oh, he can breathe whatever. He has lasers in his eyes. He can jump over a building. He's fast. He can fly. He's allergic to green rocks. That tells you enough. Fuck that guy.
Right.
He sucks.
Right. So what's your earliest memory of becoming a fan of Batman?
For me, I was 3 years old. My brother was 2. And for Halloween, of course, that had to be like 1988. I wanted to be Batman, right? One of the first Halloween when you can sort of like get out there and be a character and walk and remember your stuff. My mom handmade our Batman costumes by sewing them. And what she did is she went and bought one of those black masquerade masks,
Yeah.
and then sewed ears on top of a hoodie and then made the wings, and we were Batman. And I have little memories of it. You don't remember a lot when you're that young, but the one memory I remember is I wasn't allowed to trick or treat as a kid. And so they took us to the mall, and the mall turned us away. And walking out, my grandma's walking like just so disappointed because we're these two little cute Batman trying to be the best. My brother's just following me because he couldn't be Robin. He had to be another Batman.
Right.
And this clown leans over and hands us 2 Snickers. And I don't know if the clown worked at the mall or not. And my grandma just let us take him and eat him. And all I'm thinking is nowadays, that wouldn't happen. But we just took random candy bars from the exit of the mall near a trash can in my Batman suit. And that's probably my very first. And I just, ever since, it's like, there was two comic book loves my whole life: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman. And that's it. What about you?
Good story. That's a good story. For me, my earliest recollection of Batman was watching Batman 1989 with Michael Keaton. And I remember I was going to a daycare, and it was like an after preschool or after school, like kindergarten or something, daycare. And we were allowed to bring in movies to watch. And my mom bought me Batman 1989.
Right.
And so I brought the VHS tape in with me to watch it. And I remember that I thought everything was normal, but the daycare obviously knew that there were adult themes in there. So when they initially put it on, it was pretty violent. And so I remember them turning it off, and I remember being really pissed off about that. Like, why are you turning off Batman? Like, Batman's like the greatest thing ever. And from then on, dude, I mean, as a kid, I had Batman toys, Batmobiles. I had Robin figures. I had Catwoman figures. It was crazy, dude. Like I was the biggest Batman fan there for a while.
See, I had a Batman movie story too. I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid. And my dad bought it on VHS. And I remember, and one day we'll get into the stories of my dad's laundry room movie collection. Because remember, in my house, remember the movies, all the VHS tapes were in our laundry room for some reason. And I remember when I was like 4 or 5, I snuck in there and took it one night and watched it because I had a TV in my room. And I thought it was the most amazing thing. And I didn't understand why my mom wouldn't let me watch it because I'm just thinking, and all I remember is when I tried to watch it when she was awake, she just went, "You won't like the movie. It gives me a headache." So for years, I just associated Batman and my mom with headaches. And so,
But then you found out that she was talking to your dad? You won't like it. I have a headache.
Exactly. The headache syndrome. And that's why there's no more Medosics in our house due to Batman, bro. But no, the only other one I'll remember, and speaking of, like, you had the toys and everything, right?
Right.
There's a story that goes around in my family that, and the reason it resonates today, like, and this is just with children, right? Because we have kids, and you've seen this. And for Christmas one year, my dad, this is right when Batman just came out. So it had to be 1988, 1989, because the toys sometimes come out earlier. So I can't exactly remember the year. But the Batmobile came out with Hot Wheels for the movie coming out. And my aunt went and bought me and my brother these, and they were 99 cents, right? But my dad that year decided to go full on board, like all out for us.
Yeah.
And we opened all the toys, and all we cared about was that 99-cent Batmobile. And my dad was so pissed. And he was just like, "I spent all this money, and all they care about is that little crappy little Batmobile."
Yeah.
And I thought it was the coolest thing on the fucking planet. And so I'm going to ask you this question. There's been a lot of Batman movies, a lot of iterations. Rank your best Batmobiles.
So best Batmobiles would probably, so I'm a fan of nostalgia. So the 1966 Adam West and Burt Ward Batman has to be probably in the top 2. I'm going to put Christian Bale's tank looking thing at the bottom. I guess I would probably put Michael Keaton's Batmobile at the top. And then they changed it a little bit from Batman to Batman Returns to Batman Forever to Batman and Robin, but I don't really know off the top of my head what the differences are between those to be able to rank those. And we really didn't get the greatest look of a Batmobile in Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. So I guess I would probably put Dawn of Justice above Christian Bale's just because Christian Bale's was terrible. And then the Michael Keaton ones, and then the Adam West and Burt Ward one, number 2.
Okay, so see, for me, and I'm going to explain this part. So my number 1 is the Batman Forever. Even it has the shittiest light up hubcaps, which is I do hate that part of it. I will not deny that. So like 89 or Keaton's, both his Batmobiles are almost essentially the exact same. It's such minute differences. Like some nerd is going to get on the message boards and tell me I'm a fucking idiot, which is fine. But it's so minute that it doesn't matter. Okay, that's what I'm pointing out. There is a huge difference between the Forever, though, and Michael Keaton's and George Clooney's. Because so Forever's had more, it was like blue. And the Batman and Robin had more red in it to help with the Robin aspect. And those ones also got really pointy, and the bat wings on the back were more accentuated. But I love the Batman Forever one. For me, is number 1. Number 2 is the Adam West, the nostalgia thing. I also just think it's fucking cool looking, and it's timeless. And I think that's what matters, is it is timeless. Number 3 to me would be Michael Keaton's, because again, that's the first Batmobile I really got to appreciate, especially our age group.
Okay.
Number 4, I'm gonna sort of cheat. I'm gonna actually do the cartoon Batman, especially the Phantasm movie, Mask of Phantasm.
Oh, see, okay, yeah, that one was cool.
It's like a play on Michael Keaton's, but also a play on like a really cool looking, like modern, almost like a modern day. Who makes Escalade? What's that shitty car company? Cadillac. It's like a modern day Cadillac. Okay. So that's what it reminds me of. And then see, I would put Christian Bale's above Ben Affleck's, because to me,
really,
Christian Bale's, I think here's why. I think it's shitty. I agree with you. But it's like what they did with Ben Affleck's. They took a shitty Batmobile and said, okay, we know it's shitty, and we're going to try to mix it with Michael Keaton's and make it look more Batmobile-ish, but still keep the shittiness of it. And so all it is, it's just more flattened out. Christian Bale's is better than Ben Affleck's, in my opinion. Because at least they just went, hey, fuck it. We're just going to make it an armored vehicle. We're not going to try to make it an armored bat vehicle. They just said, fuck this. It's just a giant Humvee with a bunch of toys in it. Ben Affleck says, okay, yeah, let's take that idea and keep it going.
There's some things with The Dark Knight and Batman Begins with that series that made it practical. So I can appreciate that they made the Batmobile practical, but I have a problem with the look of it. Like, you just have this massive beast of a tank. You've got like this Hummer H7 that's just barreling through places, and it's just like, I get it's practical, but I do think that the Batmobile has to have some looks to it in order to be there. Like, Affleck's, granted, we only see it briefly. Like, there's only a couple scenes with Affleck's. So I agree with you. It is kind of squished down, but I do think that it is better because it resembles closer to Keaton's. And I guess if you look at Keaton's and even Clooney's and Kilmer's, it's all kind of the same thing. Like, I do agree with you, like the wings are different, or, you know, the width of the car is different with some of those. But I think that one's more iconic with Keaton. But and again, back to the nostalgia part, I don't know that nostalgically I can really shit on, you know, Adam West's. But I have a question for you with Batmobiles. Have you seen the new one in the trailers with the shiny guy, whatever his name is?
Yeah, with Glitter Vamp, Robert Pattinson.
Glitter
yeah,
Vamp.
It looks like you took an old Duster Challenger and put a souped up engine and gave it, you know, it's like if they asked Doc and Marty to travel back in time and create a Batmobile. Like, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Back to the Future, and a Batmobile had a baby. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen it in action, but I think it's going to be okay.
I think Glitter Vamp's movie is called The Batman. Am I correct? It's coming out next year.
The Batman, yeah. Yeah.
And another thing that it does with that is it is pretty practical. I mean, even if you look at his suit basically looks like he didn't really have all of the money or access to all of the supplies yet, because he is starting as Batman, or at least within the first few years. So I can definitely understand like why the car looks that way, and I think that there's a reason for it, similar to that of Christian Bale, why the car looks that way and why he has that. I just don't like that.
Yeah, but okay, I'm going to get on a little tangent about this really fast. Robert Pattinson's Batman looks like he's half broke. Like, the cowl looks great, the top armor looks great, and then he's wearing combat boots like he ran out of money and had to go to the store real quick to pick up shoes. I mean, I haven't, again, seen it all in action. We haven't seen that film. But I will say that I don't know his Batmobile will be the worst. But also, it might be one of those things where they're hyping it up in the trailer because, of course, we have to have a Batmobile, right? But it might barely be in the movie. I actually think he's going to be more on a bike in the movie than his actual Batmobile. I think the Batmobile is going to be one of those things where they put in a trailer and it's near the end of the film. Speaking of Batmobiles, though, like, Batman Forever is my favorite vehicle, right? Batmobile. One of my favorite stupid scenes in that one is when he walks in and looks at Alfred and goes, "Do I go by air or by sea?" And then Robin goes by him and goes, "How about both?"
That was so
and I'm just like, the lamest line, but it's also the lamest Batwing. Because, okay, who has a lamer Batwing? Him or Christian Bale's? Val Kilmer.
I can't include Michael Keaton.
You can, well, yeah, you can. You can include Michael Keaton's.
Then I'm probably going to go with Michael Keaton.
He has the worst one or the best one?
So, yeah. No, I think he has the worst one. I think he has the worst one because it was literally made just to go up into the moon
and do the moon scene
and create like a bat symbol. Yeah, it was just too cliche. And I say cliche, understanding that kind of set precedent for Batman movies, but it was just tacky. Looking back at it, it was tacky.
See, that's tacky, and Val Kilmer's when the wings open up is tacky, where it's like it's hanging like a bat.
Yeah,
because it's hanging upside down and it opens its wings, and you're like, that's pretty lame too.
That was going to be number 2. I actually didn't mind Christian Bale's. It was one of those things that I was, it was really hit or miss. I'm not a huge fan of like all of the other Bat vehicles. Like, there's a Bat boat and there's a Bat tank and there's a Bat, a Bat copter, and there's like, I don't care.
I want the Batmobile, and I'm not a car guy. I want the Batmobile, and I want a Batman, and it depends on which Robin we talk about who I like.
Right.
Most of them I don't. I like them when they're older and they branch off. But no, Batmobiles. That was my memory there. I mean, I do. If I could, I would. The only thing I wish about the Forever one, even though it's my top pick, is I could change the hubcaps out, because I think the hubcaps are the worst.
Yeah.
How they just glow. They just look retarded.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I could see that. I think that's fair. There's been several Batman villains. Well, and I say several. There's been a handful that have made the movies. So we're looking at Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at Poison Ivy, Ra's al Ghul. Am I missing any?
Or are you talking only female?
Talking only female.
It's Talia.
Sorry,
al Ghul.
Talia al Ghul. Yeah,
Talia
yeah,
al Ghul,
yeah. But it's just been the 3, right? No, Harley Quinn.
Movie iterations.
Harley Quinn. She was in Suicide Squad, and she fought Batman in that one.
Yeah. Poison Ivy and a lot of Catwomen. I think you're right that's it.
I think it's fair that we say that the worst Catwoman is Halle Berry. I don't even know why they made that movie, to be honest with you. But if you had a chance to rank Batman's top 5, they don't have to be in the live action movies, but Batman's top 5 female villains, who are you picking?
So I'm going to put some other rules on top of this really quick.
Okay.
I hope my wife listens to this episode. Rule number 1 is, what do I want my wife to dress up as cosplay when I play Batman for her? Rule number 2 is, what do I think is the sexiest characters? Because let's be honest, I mean, that's what comic books do it for. I mean, yes, there's a storyline behind it and all that.
Right.
And then rule number 3 is who, the storyline behind it all. So I'm just going to be upfront. I'm purely going sex factor here, then to storyline factor, because I think you can take a sexy character and put a good storyline on it, and vice versa. So in the future, they might make one of the most amazing Catwoman comics that I've ever seen. Right.
Right.
So number 1 for me is going to be Poison Ivy.
Oh,
I like the red hair. I love her storylines. I did not like the live action iteration they did of her, but I think out of all of it too, she's the most interesting Batman villain.
Okay.
I think she has that super level of crazy, but it could be toned back as long as you just give her a garden outside.
Yeah.
She'll be happy. So it's an easy one to work with, right? You just get her Good Housekeeping magazine and water your plants.
So, but in that same vein there, like if you're going to sleep with her, do you end up with like legit poison ivy on your pecker? Like, do you get the rash?
I've had poison ivy on my pecker.
I don't even know.
And I'm gonna tell you it's bad.
That story.
But I'll tell you, it's not. There are worse things to have on your pecker. I'll just tell you that poison ivy is bad, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Do you want to know how I got poison ivy on my pecker? You give me that face.
I don't want to know about poison ivy on your pecker. I was not expecting that. But here's what I'll tell you is that I do think that poison ivy is number 1 for me as well. I think looks wise, I think she's phenomenal. I really do. I think that she's got a great storyline. And I think that I do have a fear, though, that like, from a sexy perspective, that if you do the sexy with her, that you're going to get some sort of like jungle disease of some kind from some plant. And it's going to be like poison something in your dick hole. And I just think that that's going to be a bad news thing. But from a sexy perspective, she's number 1, of course. Yeah.
So, okay, good. We agree there. Number 2 for me is White Rabbit. I think the latest iteration in the comics is Janai Hudson. We have talked about this on the show. Apparently, I think I have a thing for bunnies. I'm not going to go, but here, I love the outfit. It reminds me of the Playboy bunnies. it's actually a pretty cool character, and they've never actually like explored that story enough. So I think that's another reason I want more of it. But I love that outfit. That's the main reason there.
As soon as you said the White Rabbit, I just started thinking about Lola Bunny. And I just thought,
and so did
this
I.
is where I shouldn't have been surprised. But so the White Rabbit, huh?
Yep. So what's your number 2?
The ventriloquist. I thought
I wanted to say that, but go ahead.
No, I like the ventriloquist. Obviously, she's got that cliche comic book look. She's got the curves. She's got the blonde hair. She's got the revealing chest, cut out of her dress and all of that sort of stuff. But I always liked how she interacted with Batman in the comics, and she gives me like that vibe of not necessarily like she's going to dominate the conversation, like she's going to take control, but like she would take control in a sexy way.
B-word, you know what she's going to take control of?
Not
you know
my
what
butthole.
She does? She sticks her hand up a dude's butt to make it talk. You just want to get a prostate exam, bro. Just like as soon as you said it, I said the White Rabbit, you thought of Lola. As soon as you said it, I thought, man, B-word's getting older and he's getting that exam coming up. Right up the pooper.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward
number
to
3,
that.
I actually think we're gonna tie on this one. And mine is Catwoman. And I don't think they've ever gotten Catwoman right in the movies. And me and you have argued about that. I think the closest they got was with Michelle Pfeiffer, but it's not my cup of tea. The outfit was, but everything else about it to me, I did not like.
Yeah.
And I think it's because in the comics, it's so much sexier and built up. And it's like, I just want like that. I want them to cast like a really fucking just bad bitch. Like just go out and get like a Nicki Minaj type with those types of, and just a fucking foul mouth who can do all the gymnast stuff and be Catwoman. Because that's what Catwoman is to me. Is just a super hot, can manipulate Batman. Anybody that can manipulate Batman is a bad bitch, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now.
And not a little bitch.
And that's
like
what I
AJ.
need to see. No, like AJ.
He's a self-described little bitch. Check out the last episode for a description. So, okay, no, you and I don't agree on this. I actually have Catwoman ranked higher. Or I'm sorry, no, I apologize. We do agree on this. I have Catwoman ranked at number 3.
Okay. And
I think that the best version of Catwoman was actually in the 1966 Batman movie.
Okay.
And only because of how she carried herself and how she talked, how she with her lips and how she would roll her tongue and she would do all these sort of mannerisms.
Right.
Yeah, that were really, really revealing of Cat's behavior. Also, she was so hot that she gave Burt Ward a Woody, like legit. And I think that that's pretty good. I don't know how many Woodies he's had in his life. I'd imagine a few, but there's really only one on camera. So so I thought that was a good thing there. But then I do like Michelle Pfeiffer. She would be my number 2. I think she's hot. I liked her mannerisms. I actually saw the outfit that she wore. I went to Universal Studios. I don't know if I've even told you this, but I went to Universal Studios and they actually have a bat. I don't know if they called it a cave or what it is, but they have a bat studio where they have all of the Batmobiles, and then they have all of the outfits as well. And her outfit was in a plexiglass case. She's tiny, bro. She's tiny. She needs like 5 meals. I didn't realize how tiny she was. That's crazy.
They had to sew that on her, I heard too. And it broke a lot on
the set. Yeah, they did. Yeah. Well, and in the same movie, and even the original Batman, every time Batman would get into the Batmobile, they'd chop his ears off. So he went through so many suits just because of the Batmobile, because the convertible part would just chop his ears off. It's crazy.
There's so much impractical about those. I think that's why we have an appreciation for Christian Bale's. But see, when we go back to practicality, that's why I was not a fan of the Catwoman they put in those movies. Like, yeah, it was a cool story, play back and forth. And I mean, the only hint we got about it is when she lifted up those glasses and it looked like cat ears. And I think it's just a shitty nod. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to be too practical now. You know what I mean?
What do you think of the new Catwoman that's proposed in the Batman?
I think it'll be interesting. The thing is that I am enjoying about this is they're going sort of like, I think they're going like the MCU is full force with this whole alternate universe and all that, all the different worlds and timelines.
Yeah.
That I think it's going to open up a lot more to interpretation. I think the actress I think she's a great actress. I think she's going to do a good job. I also don't think it's going to be as big of a role, just like the Batmobile is not going to be
Right.
as big in the film as we're making it out to be. I think it's one of those, especially because you've heard some of the rumors have leaked about the film. I
Yeah.
think there's going to be a lot of surprises in it that we're not going to expect. So
Right.
I think she's going to do a good job. I think it's going to be on that side of practicality again. And I
Okay.
hope it's not that, because I know they're not going to go full bore, like super suit and all that. But to keep this on track, number 4 for me is going to be Harley Quinn. And ever since she was created in the animated series, because she was not originally a comic book character. I'm sure you knew that. I even had I just love her voice. I love that accent. I love her attitude. I like that craziness. She reminds me of a girl I dated in my 20s. A lot of girls I dated in my 20s. Like that was just like, I don't even care. We're going to do whatever you want tonight. And then the next day I'm going, oh, why the fuck did I do
what
that?
did I
and
do?
Because, I think, right, I'm getting in trouble and she thinks it's awesome I'm getting in trouble. And then all I'm thinking is, I got to explain this to my family and everything else. So, but she's just awesome. And I think it's because she's also a character, because she's grown so popular in the lore so fast.
Right.
That all the iterations of her, and I think she's one of the ones that transcends this. If you look at it, like, because you've seen like when they've redrawn Catwoman, and I'm going to go outside the Batman realm just for a second, like even Tomb Raider, right? How they took her breast size down to make her, more realistic. Even when they make Harley Quinn more realistic, she's still sexy.
Yeah.
No matter what way, who you put her in, like her breast size, none of that matters. She's still hot. And that's one thing I like.
Is there a better casting choice than Margot Robbie for Harley Quinn?
No, I think that's one of the Batman castings they've gotten almost perfect.
Right.
Out of all of them in the history of Batman.
I think that Harley Quinn's casting is perfect. And I think that she got that role, Margot Robbie got that role from her performance in The Wolf of Wall Street. The way she has that accent and the way that the general public fell in love with her performance, I thought.
And her pussy.
Well, that too.
Just saying it, dude.
That too.
That's one of the best scenes of that movie.
Daddy's just gonna have to look at it. Daddy. Oh God,
I love that movie.
I loved her in both movies, actually. Margot Robbie is one of my top 5 female actresses, so I'm totally about that life. Okay, so who's
number 4 then?
Is Lady Shiva. I think Lady Shiva has that dark, mysterious, almost like a ninja look to her. She is a powerful martial artist. She's given Batman a run for his money. Obviously, it's the Batman comics, right? So Batman's the hero and the hero tends to prevail. But I think that she was probably one of the most vicious and powerful female villains that we've seen in the comics. And I'd love to see her actually live action. I think that would be really, really cool. I don't know who would cast or like who would be a casting person for her, who the actress would be, but I think it would be a good storyline to fit in there. So she's my number 4.
That's a good pick. That's a surprising pick for me. I think that's why my 5th pick is going to be surprising for you. And it was a toss up for me. I actually had a harder time with my last pick. Because I really wanted to put Lynx up there.
Oh yeah.
Because I think Lynx is a great character. But I also felt like it was cheating because I already got a Catwoman. And I feel like that was during that time. And I don't know when she was created. I'm going to be honest. I don't know a lot about that character's background. That's another reason. So I went with Roxy Rocket. And there's a few reasons. One, she looks hot in the comics. And I think it would be a cool story. I also think it's a perfect storyline for how they're making Batman movies because it's more practical.
Right.
I mean, she's an ex-stunt person who becomes but also she's the most realistic looking besides Talia al Ghul.
Yeah.
Character. Like she just looks like a hot woman that just can fight Batman. And I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. There's nothing, there's no frills on it. It's just, you can wear a black tank top, a leather jacket, have some big boobs almost popping out and punch him in the face. Like, good for you. I'm a big fan of that. So I went that more normal route, if that makes sense.
It's kind of like what they did with Elektra in the Daredevil Netflix series. She was very practical.
Exactly.
And you could tell she was a badass. Yeah, I could see that. That would be really good. My number 5 is going to be Harley Quinn. And the only reason why she didn't make the top 3, because typically I'd probably put her in the top 3. The only reason why she's not in the top 3 is because of how new of a character she is. And this is going to go more to the nerd in me. I think that she has more propensity to have her storyline fucked up because there's not much canon on her. Like there's plenty of canon on her. She's got her own comic books. She's got her history with the Joker. She's got her history with Batman. I just think that after Margot Robbie portrays her, so this is her third time doing Harley Quinn. You had Birds of Prey, you had Suicide Squad, and Suicide Squad 2. I just don't know how much more they're going to be able to do with the character. And I love the casting, and I don't know that there's going to be somebody who is a better casting than Margot Robbie. And when it comes to the comics, there's not as much lore as there are on some other villains.
Do you feel too that this, and I totally agree with you with the casting, we've discussed that part, but do you feel like that's one of those characters that you can never have anybody casted as again? Sort of like how people felt about Lou Ferrigno when he was original Hulk.
Yeah.
Or like even for me, Thor. I think Thor is the greatest casting Marvel's ever done with Chris Hemsworth. That it'd be hard for me to imagine another one, even though I know they could do it.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong. As a fan, when I'm going to watch a movie, like casting makes or breaks the character a lot when you're talking about the previews and getting somebody excited to go see the movie. So for that reason, I totally agree with you. I almost think that Harley Quinn needs to take a generation off as far as in the live action series or films. And I kind of would like them to explore her more in the comics, and then maybe even do like a live action series or something like that, where you can get more of her backstory or her growing up or some of the things in the storylines that they actually create from here forward.
But you remember the controversy with her in the comics I don't know how long ago it was. Do you remember all that? Where they had a contest, help her kill herself.
No.
Did you ever read about that?
No.
So there was a big thing. I think that was another problem with Harley Quinn. So there was a comic series with DC where it was like one of those write-in contests. Because I will say, out of DC and Marvel, DC to me has always had those great contests, like to help with their characters.
Yeah.
And they had people come up with a way that she should kill herself. And I think the one that won was like her killing herself in a bathtub with a bunch of toasters. I could be wrong. I know that was one of the high ones, and it got a bunch of flack. And I mean, I'm all about, like, just let it happen. No PC, like, I mean, that it's a comic book, for Christ's sake. But, a lot of moms and a lot of people, not just moms, a lot of people got mad. Right. And so I think that also is another reason they need to take a little step back with this character, because like you're saying, I think it needs a generation apart, because I think she's stuck in a place where they have to put her now in that daddy's little monster shirt, and they don't know what else to do with her at a point. And I think even in Suicide Squad 2, she was great, but it was over the top.
And that's my problem with the character.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. So speaking of castings, really quick, I'm going to take a little side note. Who's the better Alfred? Michael Caine or Michael Gough?
The Michael from the Michael Keaton era.
Me too. Why?
Dude, it has to do with nostalgia. Like the very first live action Batman I ever watched was Batman 1989. Like I didn't even watch 1966 before Batman 1989. I didn't even know that there was a Batman TV series until later on in life. And so, I mean, that was the epitome of Alfred to me. Now, I loved Michael Caine's performance. I'm not going to lie. And actually, oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot here. We weren't prepared to talk about Alfred's, but the Alfred in Justice League, he's not bad at all. But I still like the Alfred.
He's the one in Justice League, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. He's not bad, but he seems like the same age as Ben Affleck's Batman, which is a problem for me. Like, they don't look that far off apart, and Alfred's supposed to seem a lot older to me.
Yeah, I think that there's I would justify that there's probably a 15-year age difference between Batman and Alfred in Justice League. And I think that that's fair because, nobody ever said that Alfred had to be there when Batman was born.
No, and I agree that, but also he helped him through the trials and tribulations, right?
Well, yeah, he did.
When his parents died.
Yeah. So, but is there a specified age when Batman's parents died, or was it just when he was a kid?
I don't know that part. I will say, I'll say this. So I don't even want to get on that guy because mine is the same as yours, and mine has to do with a Diet Coke commercial.
Oh, I remember that.
Because right where the Batmobile is driving and he wants a Diet Coke and he goes, "Oh, I'll have it ready for you in a minute, sir." And then the Batmobile comes up and he turns around, he pops it over, and he goes, "Ah!" I'm
Yeah.
like, that's what I remember about Alfred. And I love that commercial because I'm a big commercial guy. And so I think Michael Caine's was great. The worst casting for Alfred is in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie.
Yeah.
That's the worst Alfred. And I know he doesn't have a lot of screen time, and I'm not shitting on that actor. But it just seemed like a throwaway.
He was
like,
a throwaway character. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Andy Serkis will be interesting because he's going to be it in the Glitter Vamps. So that'll be interesting to see.
I think, like you said, there is a noticeable age difference between Andy Serkis and Glitter Vamp, Robert Pattinson. So I think that that's probably more appropriate than what you're seeing with the one in Justice League and Affleck. But my memories of Alfred from the Burtonverse, if we want to call it that, is that I liked his interactions with Robin, and I also I kind of liked his interactions with Alicia Silverstone. But I guess if you're talking about storylines, I thought he was much better in Batman 1989 and Batman Returns than he was in the other two, because I felt like they made him out to be a little bit more campy in the other two and almost tried to have him not necessarily comic relief, but just more of a lighter tone.
Well, I think they made those movies more campy, and I think honestly they just kept him because they needed to keep something there. And they're like, just he's there, just let it happen, and let's add nipples to a bat suit, and then make everything so over the top and crazy. I mean, one of my least favorite scenes in all Batman movies is the scene in Batman Forever where Alfred is doing the laundry and he turns around and looks at Robin and goes, "Oh, Robin, don't do that. I'll take care of it for you, sir." And Robin, it does that stupid cliche thing in the 90s where they'd start playing like grunge metal music real quick and do a quick montage of him like doing his own laundry in the stupidest way. I don't know if you remember that scene. Yeah. He wrings his clothes out and there's water everywhere. There's water on the floor. There's water. And that's how he dries clothes. And he just throws in the wet clothes back in the hamper that he barely dried and then leaves all the water on the floor. And Albert just smiles at it. I'm thinking, who the fuck's going to clean up that water, you dick? Like, all he was going to do was throw it in the dryer like a normal human being. Yeah. And there you are, Rob. Like, I'm going to wring my stuff around a mop handle and squeeze. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. He pulls the mop out and barely squeegees it up. It's still all over the fucking walls, you asshole.
Right.
My rant's over. I'm sorry. That's how I feel.
There's some other iterations of Batman that haven't really hit the live screen. They have done a better job, I will say. And you know me, I'm not the biggest cartoon watcher, but there are some alternate Batmans that have made the DC animated universe.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they've also kind of introduced and done some Easter eggs and stuff in some of the live action stuff. But if you're going to rank like what your favorite alternate Batman personality is, who would it be?
All right, number one's the Bat Who Laughs. It doesn't take me long to think. As you know, I'm a huge Joker fan over Batman. And the Bat Who Laughs is where it is Bruce Wayne. So contrary, I don't know if you know a lot about this character, but he almost looks like Hellraiser. Like he looks like he's in the universe of like BDSM. But he kills the Joker. And as the Joker dies, he laughs and releases a toxin, and then it drives Batman crazy. And then, like, he has little Joker boys on chains. It's like just fucked up,
right?
But it's one of my favorites. And he's like in control of in the comics. It's I think the Dark Knights series. So that's my favorite one. Number two would probably be. It's hard. I want to say Sir William's up there. I don't know if you know that storyline where he's at an actual knight.
Yeah, no.
So Sir William is where he is a knight on the Round Table. So it's a different time period. And he's supposed to kill King Arthur. And Merlin traps him and like then he finds a way for his armor to help set him free and stuff. Or Red Death. And Red Death, I'm sure you know that one.
Yep.
Is where he steals the Flash's powers. Because I've never really been a big Flash fan
No, me either.
until I started reading more about it. And I think the story's interesting. I sort of treat it like track and field, like, wow, you run fast, good for you.
Right.
But I think the storyline's cool. So if I had to do top two, I guess I'm going to say Red Death is number 2. Sir Williams is an honorable mention. What do you got?
So they've teased Flashpoint Batman in the Flashpoint Flash movie that's coming up. I just don't know that they're going to do it exactly. And I don't think that there's going to be an opportunity to actually do it until later on because there's so many different Batmans going on. But I would really like to see.
I know exactly who you're talking about. You're talking about Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yes, I would love to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan in that role. And I think
everybody does.
Yeah, I think that he would be really good. But I like the Thomas Wayne storyline. I like how he plays into Flashpoint. I just don't think that they're going to be able to do it with the way that they're doing it. So that's probably an alternate Batman that I would like to see. I think both of us can agree with Batman Beyond. Like we would both like to see Batman Beyond, but that's not my second one. I'm going to go with Dark Claw, and the only reason why I'm going to go with Dark Claw is because I had a fascination when DC and Marvel came together and created these characters in the Amalgam universe. And Dark Claw is a hybrid, if you will, of Batman and Wolverine, and both of those two arguably are just incredible characters. And he was kind of a badass, and so that's probably one of my favorite iterations right there.
Yeah, he looks badass too.
Yeah.
So you spoke of when Marvel and DC came together in the 90s. I don't know if you remember the time where Stan Lee went over to DC for a short period.
Uh-huh.
And redid the worst one for me is Stan Lee's Batman.
I don't know that I remember Stan Lee's Batman though.
So Stan Lee's Batman is Wayne Williams, a black guy who goes to prison and wrestles in prison and wears an actual bat helmet. Like it looks like a bat face. And it sucks so bad.
Oh, wow.
And after that, so he did like Wonder Woman and all that. They all sucked to me. And when it came out, all I thought was Stan Lee is fucking with us and trolling DC so hard. Because that's what it felt like. Like he went over there and said, the biggest middle finger I'm going to get is to make the worst iteration of Batman and then walk out and say, I'm back to Marvel. Like that's what it felt like when I read that. I think it was like in 2001. It's horrible.
That's freaking terrible, dude. I just looked at the photo. Like, I'll post that photo. I'll make sure that hits our socials because that definitely is the worst Batman. Yeah, that's terrible.
It's bad. That is because I understand like some people argue, like some people don't like the vampire Batman during, I think it's, I don't know the name of the series. It could be Rain. I know where, all of a sudden Dracula goes to Gotham and Batman like becomes a vampire and he feeds on villains like blood. And then he, then he kills all the villains and then he becomes then he starts killing everybody.
Right.
And I don't think that one's as bad. I think the most devastating character of all of them is Devastator. No pun intended, not trying to repeat the word. And that's where Batman creates himself into Doomsday with the virus. And it's pretty badass. But still, I think the Bat Who Laughs still controls him. So that's why I can't put him there. And then there's the God Batman, but I'm not a fan of those.
So if you were to pick a storyline that you want to see in a movie out of an alternate Batman, or even out of a storyline that's not been shown live action, which one would you pick?
I'm actually going to ask you to answer this first.
Okay.
Because I have two in my head, but I really need to think about this. So you go first, and then I think I'll give you mine because I also want to see if we're going to cross paths.
So the one that I wanted, we were so close to getting it, in my opinion. So right after Justice League, you had Ben Affleck writing the storyline on the next Batman movie. And everything that came out about the script indicated it was going to be Arkham Asylum. And this was the one where Batman goes into Arkham Asylum and he fights his entire rogues gallery almost to finish with the big bad of being the Joker, and that one would have been badass on live screen. I think that you probably could have done some excellent castings with some of the Rogues Gallery. I think Ben Affleck would have been a great job for that movie. I don't know necessarily that I would have wanted the same Joker. Like maybe it was a different Joker or something, or even just a better acted Joker than Jared Leto portrayed. But yeah, that would have been a fantastic storyline, and I would love to see that live action.
Now, before you get to the next one, I want to ask you this question. Do you think, one, that they didn't do it in fear of they would have too many villains? Because we know that can be a problem for movies. And because then there's the complaint, Bane only had 3 seconds. And because, you can only fit so much in so much time, because Batman's like Spider-Man. He is one of the greatest rogue galleries. So is that a problem, you think? And number 2, don't you think they've already done that with the video game? And how do you live up to that?
I think they did do it with the video game. Yes. But they've done a lot of things with the video game that has turned into movies. So I don't really think that that's an excuse. A great example of that is that PlayStation came out with The Last of Us, and that's now becoming a series on HBO Max. So I do think that you can take a great storyline like The Last of Us and you can turn it into live action television series. And I hope that that one's really good. I know that that's not DC or Batman related, but I think the biggest issue with that storyline is the casting. I think when you're talking about casting Batman villains, you almost have to nail it. Like there's such high pressure on casting Batman villains that if you cast it incorrectly, that fans are going to hate you.
Final part on that. Does he need to kill all the villains?
I don't think he needs to kill all the villains, but I do think that there needs to be some weight in the game, meaning that there should be some death. Like he doesn't have to kill all of them, but there do need to be some stakes there, and Batman needs to throw down and not be a little bitch.
Okay. What's your second one, or do you have one?
Second one would be the Thomas Wayne, the Flashpoint Batman. And like I said, I don't think we're going to get it.
Flashpoint.
I don't think we're going to get it at all. I think that there's going to be another iteration, and now that DC's doing a multiverse, it's going to be a multiverse Batman that takes that role, and it's not going to be Thomas Wayne, and that's where it's going to disappoint me.
See, I actually think it's going to be an Easter egg that never gets fulfilled, like what DC likes to do instead.
Yeah, probably.
Where they just give us something and never, they show us the booby and we never get the rest. Number 1 for me is the whole Azrael storyline.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was so when they were making Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight series, I was really excited when Bane broke his back.
Yeah,
because that's where Azrael came from. Now I understand it's hard to explain. I think it's Jean-Paul, his name, or to come in. But I thought that would have been the greatest villain for the third one. Because, I mean, even in the series, Batman admits, like, he would probably beat Batman in a fight if he wasn't so mentally unstable. Because just seeing that series, and the only reason I read it, I'm going to throw this out, is because one of the Bleach Bros that we're going to try to get on the show convinced me to read this when we were young.
Oh, okay.
And I did. And it's like, Azrael, as you know, gets claws and likes to fight with weapons and takes over the bat suit while Batman is back's broken, and then Batman has to come out of almost retirement to kick his ass because he's going around murdering people.
Yeah.
I honestly, when I saw Bane break his back, I was like, we're finally going to get this, and I was so hyped. And it just, you know what I mean, didn't come to fruition. Second for me is Death of the Family, and I'm really
okay.
Because I know there's Death in the Family and then Death of the Family. And out of the two, Death of the Family is my favorite out of the New 52.
Okay.
Where Joker cuts his face off. Have you read that series, B-Word, or know much about it?
I haven't read it, but I'm aware of it.
I think the reason it's just like yours with the Arkham Asylum thing. The reason I would love that one is that's where the Joker gets the whole Bat family at one table and has them all blindfolded for like this dinner and convinces them they're all going to die.
Right.
So we would have Nightwing. We would have everyone in the Bat family at that table. And for me, I think that would be awesome. Plus seeing that psychotic of a Joker would be great because I think we've gone up levels every time.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it would be the perfect way to reinvent Jared Leto's Joker.
Okay. Okay.
in my opinion, because you could keep him casted and you can make him so insane that you're like, oh, that makes sense now. Why he, you know what I mean? And you do that.
So what's more important in that movie? The casting of Joker or the casting of all the rest of the characters?
I have a hot take on this. I think the Joker nowadays is actually a more important role to cast in Batman films,
Okay. Why is that?
because I think there's only so much you can do with Batman. I mean, if you look at it, it's sort of like the Batmobile. We already know the voice just has to be a little gruff, right? It has to sound a little different.
Right.
We know he needs to show up in a tux and look decent. And you just need to make the suit movable. But I mean, that's all we change on Batman anymore. We just change his suit. How big is the bat in the middle? You know, how big are his ears? What's his cape look like? The Joker, we go, okay, how crazy is he? What type of villain
Right.
is he? How many people does he kill? What's he going to look like? How is he going to act? I mean, there's a Joker. If you look up the Tattooed Joker, and I think it's based off of Batman and Robin All Stars issue 8, where the Joker like murders some chick he just finished having sex with, and like it's one of those weird comics because like it's where Batman and Robin are working on their relationship too, and Robin is convinced he doesn't want to wear a suit because it makes him queer, and I'm not joking about this at all.
Right.
And
Right.
then wants to call himself Robin Hood, and then Batman tells him hoods are for losers, and then tells him just to stick with Robin instead of the Hood. So I think the Joker is actually a more defining character because it makes Batman act in certain ways, and I think we're all, I don't know about you, but our generation, like you were saying with the Arkham Asylum thing, there needs to be more weight in the game. I think we're all sick, like Heath Ledger was of Batman, never breaking his one rule, that we want to finally see it. And the only character to drive him that mad is the Joker.
Is the Joker.
And so I think that's why. I think because more actors have gotten the Joker right than actors have gotten Batman right.
Oh, that's a hot take. Yeah, I can see that. I think, you know what, man? I think that that's actually a really good thing, like a really good point. Because because for all the shit that Jared Leto gets for his portrayal of the Joker, I actually appreciate his portrayal. Like he's definitely not my favorite Joker, of course, but I appreciate his portrayal. I appreciate his portrayal more in the end credit scene in the Justice League Zack Snyder cut than I do in Suicide Squad. But let me ask you this: since we're ranking things, rank the live action. So obviously not Mark Hamill. Rank your live action Jokers.
Heath Ledger's number one. I'm not one of those people that does it just because he died. I think so the scene where he opens up and comes out with the pencil trick.
Mm-hmm.
Not that was his opening scene. I mean, yeah, we got the, makes you stranger and he rips the mask off. But that scene where he walks in and does the pencil trick and does all that was the most defining Joker scene I think I've ever seen in my life. And it's up there with Jack Nicholson's when he's, the pale face moonlight, right? And
Dance with the Devil.
But I also think it was thank you. I think it's the best iteration of how the Joker should act, especially if you're going to make everything so practical, right? So not only was he not campy and over the top, but he was just the right amount of crazy, but not too crazy. You know what I mean? Like where it almost had a balancing act where he was doing it because he's the Joker, not because he's a villain. Number 2 would be Jack Nicholson, because that's the first Joker I ever really got introduced to. And I like that style against that type of Batman, of that, sort of more of a gangster feel. Number 3 is going to be Joaquin Phoenix. And I know he's not up against a Batman or anything, but I think he played the role so well. And I think it was the perfect way to show us how somebody could become that way. Because, yeah, I mean, with Jack Nicholson's, we get the fall in a vat of acid, and he got shot in the face, and Heath Ledger's is just crazy. We don't really know where he comes from. There's no backstory, and I'm actually happy with that. I don't want to know. Number 4 is going to be Jared Leto. I wasn't as disappointed. I don't know how many times I watched the Suicide trailer because, as you know, and like just like I gave the Joker argument, I'm a bigger fan of bad guys and villains than superheroes. And me and you have talked to that before.
Right.
Just that end. I mean, they hyped up that character so much. I was so excited just because, like I said, with the All-Star Batman and Robin and all the tattooed Joker, I was super excited. Like, okay, we're gonna get that type of guy. Like, he's fucked up and he's tatted and he's new age. And then we got what we got. And but I still don't think it was the worst. I think it also has to do with writing and how they were trying to do it, because DC never knows what the hell they want. They want to make it bright and campy, but then they want to make it super serious. And then they get mad at either one because they go full in on one or the other.
Right.
And I guess number 5 would be Cesar Romero, because am I saying that right? Romero, right?
Yeah.
Is because, I mean, it's just, I haven't watched a ton of that series. So that's why I'm going to put him at the bottom. But you know, it still resonates a little bit, but I would still put Jared Leto's above him just because I think it has the most potential. What about you?
I've got a hot take for you. Joaquin Phoenix is number 1.
Why is that a hot take?
I love Heath Ledger. Love everything he did with the character. I loved how he was introduced into the movie. I loved how he was a keeper of chaos, if you want to call it that. I love how he ended in the movie. I thought that it was left open for the third movie, and unfortunately, he passed away, and I think that that would have been a phenomenal character to explore. But Joaquin Phoenix and his portrayal of the Joker in his movie brought this grounded character that had legitimate pain, that had a backstory that you could relate to, that had a villain that was in the form of the government or in the form of capitalism, if you want to call it that, as the oppressor. There was the storyline between him and Thomas Wayne, where he was potentially the son. I loved where he finally embraced the character and he ended up killing Robert De Niro's character, and all of a sudden he was the Joker. He became the Joker. And at the end of the movie, you still don't know if that was something that he imagined or if it was something that happened. And I thought that that was a great portrayal of the Joker. For that reason alone.
Here's my one problem with your hot take, though. Before you finish that, you just said his villain is the government, not Batman, B-word.
I get that, but I don't think you have to have Batman as, I mean, yes, Joker and Batman are tied at the hip as far as a lot of their storylines. But if you look at arguably one of the better Joker portrayals in The Killing Joke, there wasn't really a presence of Batman in that one either. So I do think that Joker can stand on his own in the same manner that Batman can stand on his own separate from Joker. But at the end of the day, they both revolve around each other. So they do have that Earth to Sun relationship where they do revolve around each other, but they can have other storylines. And for that reason, I do think Joaquin Phoenix is number 1. Number 2 is going to be Heath Ledger because of everything I said about Heath Ledger. Number 3 is going to be Jack Nicholson, which when I was first putting this list together, because it's been a little bit since I put the list together, Jack Nicholson used to be number 2 and Heath used to be number 1. But after dissecting this a little bit more, Jack Nicholson, I love him for everything that you said. I thought he was the first, Batman 1989 was probably one of the very first superhero movies that was introduced, other than the like the Hulk with Lou Ferrigno or Christopher Reeve with Superman. But the way he portrayed the villain was fantastic. So I love that. I'm going to go with Cesar Romero as number 4 because I do think that he kept to the character. I thought that the character meshed with the campiness of Batman 1966. And I do think that he was a good portrayal. And then only because of the way he acted in Suicide Squad, I'm going to go with Jared Leto. I do think, however, and I'm going to put Jared Leto there with an asterisk, I do think he has the potential to be a better Joker than what he was. I just don't know that he'll have another opportunity.
Yeah, see, and I wasn't surprised by your last two. I knew you were not going to put Jared Leto above Cesar Romero, which is fine because, like I said, I think I'm putting him there for potential, and I think it's going to happen because I
Just a
think we're going to get
correction.
more of
I
that
did
stuff.
put Jared Leto below Cesar Romero.
I know. I meant. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mine was Jared Leto above. I was looking at my own list, so I'm sorry. I knew you would put it that way. So if so we talked the Jokers, and we know my theory on the Joker. Who is your best Batman? And then we're not putting this in Bruce Wayne, like, because I think there's a difference. Some people
There's a
play a better
difference.
Bruce Wayne, some people play a better Batman. So, all right, let's do it this way. Do you want to talk who's the best Bruce Wayne first, or who's the best Batman?
Let's end on Batman.
Okay, so who's the best Bruce Wayne?
I think the best Bruce Wayne has to be George Clooney. I think George Clooney has that playboy. He's got that playboy attitude. He fits into the Gotham City is basically New York, and he fits into that New York socialite thing. He's a pretty boy, and candidly, I mean, he and Val Kilmer are kind of neck and neck, but I just don't like Val Kilmer's portrayal when it comes to Bruce Wayne. But I'm going to go with Clooney number one as Bruce Wayne. And do you want me to rank all of them, or you want to give yours next?
I'll rank my top. I guess we can go back and forth because I mean, all right, I got Christian Bale as number one.
Really?
And I know me and you have talked in length on this before, and you would usually have him at the bottom, but rewatching it, it's also because he also made it the best scenes of how he became Batman. And I think that's what really turned me. I think he was the best actor for the scenes with Ra's al Ghul. If you would have put any of those other actors in there, Adam West, Val Kilmer, all that, because I don't think it's hard to get dressed up and stand there silently and sleep with women. Let's just be honest here. Sure. I don't think that's a hard portrayal to play. I agree with you that George Clooney has the look of that part, and him and Val Kilmer, it's like, oh. But Christian Bale, I think, is the best Bruce Wayne because I think he had the snarkiness, he knew how to talk, and he had the best. He acted the best out of all of them, in my opinion. If you put anybody in that role of how he became the Batman, and that's why I would put him as number one as Bruce Wayne.
Okay, I could see that. So I've already revealed my number two. So we're gonna go Clooney, Kilmer. Who's your number two?
My number two is Val Kilmer. I actually have a soft spot for that. I'm a big Val Kilmer fan. I think his portrayal was good because his Batman portrayal was not very good. And so I think I also separate that.
Is it because of his chemistry with Nicole Kidman?
I think it's just he's an asshole. I think that he is such in his own head, such a method actor that he just refused to play anybody but himself.
Right.
And he imagined himself as Batman. So he was like, oh, so that's why I think his Bruce Wayne came across perfectly.
I'm Batman.
The third one would be Adam West. And the whole reason is when we were doing this, we do a little bit of research. And I don't know if you remember this, but I want you to look this up if you don't, and anybody listening. Watch the scene from the show where Batman has a conversation with himself on the phone. And it's Adam West holding up two phones and talking to himself. And it's one of the funniest things ever. And that's the only reason he's number three is because he's actually doing it.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. So my number three is going to be Affleck. I thought that Affleck was a great portrayal of a Batman who has gone through some shit. Like he has struggled. He's a middle-aged Batman. You can tell the effects that's happening on his body. I think that his voice, his mannerisms, all of that sort of stuff, I think that those were really good. So Affleck's my number three on that one. Who's your number four?
Four is Clooney. For a lot of the reasons you said, I don't really have much more on that. And five is Michael Keaton. And I'm only talking about the first 89 Batman.
Okay.
And the whole reason is the soup scene. When he's sitting at the table and he asks her to pass the salt. And that awkwardness, because I also think Bruce Wayne's actually an awkward dude. That's why Clooney for me is hard, because I think he doesn't play the awkwardness up enough. And I know I put him above Keaton, but I think because Keaton's second time doing it wasn't as good.
So you said 4 and 5 right there. My 5th one is going to be Adam West, and that would make my 6th one Keaton. So by process of elimination, your 6th one is Affleck.
Because I think we haven't got enough storyline out of it. I agree with you that the gruffness of him, but I also think that if you watch all the movies together that he's been in, and that includes, even Suicide Squad and stuff, I don't think he's the same guy in every movie. I don't think he portrays the same Bruce Wayne. I don't think he always portrays the same Batman. Now, I don't think the Batman part's a bad thing. I think the Bruce Wayne part's a bad thing, because if you're a mass vigilante, you don't want people to find you out, so you can be a little different. If you're a regular socialite, you changing all the time is a bad move, and that's my opinion there.
Just because I feel like we're kind of lost here. There's a total of 6 Bruce Waynes. So just to reiterate, my 6, my number 1 is Clooney. My number 2 is Kilmer. My number 3 is Affleck. My number 4 is Adam West. My number 5 is Keaton. And by process of elimination, my number 6 is going to be Bale. So my number 6 is your number 1.
Exactly.
This is where we fight. This is exactly where we fight. This is what we've done for years now. So real quick, before you say what you're going to say, reiterate your 6 so that way the audience can follow along.
Bale number 1, Kilmer number 2, West number 3, Clooney number 4, Keaton number 5, and Affleck number 6.
Damn.
Yeah. Hey, it had to happen eventually, man. Okay, so on that note, then, who's the best Batman, B-word?
Let's go from bottom to top this time. So let me ask you this: who's the worst Batman?
Clooney.
Yes, I agree with you.
Hands down.
Clooney is the absolute worst Batman. Absolute worst Batman. I think Clooney is the best. He's the best and the worst Batman and Bruce Wayne, in my opinion. And that's why I went with Clooney number 1. But yeah, Clooney is terrible as Batman.
5 is Adam West. And it's only because I think other people. Yeah. 5 is Adam West.
The screen's really not frozen. That was my mouth that was just hanging there for a minute.
I know. It's just I'm letting it drop further and further. I'm actually just watching it drop while the audience listens to silence.
Oh my!
Yeah, I mean,
God.
Adam West. I mean, I understand nostalgia is a thing, and I understand, but it's like when I watch old movies with my wife, or like, all right, hot take. I hate classic rock. We've talked about this. I don't care, good for him. He's the first one. It doesn't mean I need to like it. I hate people that are like, I hate the fucking Beatles. Everybody likes them. They don't need me to like them. Good for them. Adam West is number right. He's not as bad as Clooney, but I don't need him up there. What? Okay. What's your number 5?
You're saying that Kilmer's better than Adam West? Because my number 5 is Kilmer.
Right now, yeah.
My bottom 2 you're so fucking stupid. my bottom 2 are Clooney and then Kilmer, because they're the 2 literal worst Batmans, period. No arguments about it. And you're sitting here saying, oh no, Val Kilmer's a much better Batman than Adam West. Suck my ass. No, it's not. This is stupid.
Oh, okay. Dude, it's not like he's much higher. Val Kilmer's number 4. He's not that much higher than Adam West. I'm putting these 3 are a low fucking bar, bro. You're meaning to tell me right now it's like you're gonna put Adam West so much higher on your list? I bet Adam West is your number 4, asshole.
He is.
There you go. So fuck you. Till you give me this whole speech over there of, how dare you? Adam West is and you're over here. Yeah, he's 1 spot higher. I'm not making the bar that high, B-word. I just put the numbers in that order. It's not like I'm saying Val Kilmer's so much better. I just don't think Adam West is that fucking great.
Oh my God, this is terrible.
Yeah, way to call yourself out there, you shit dick.
This is terrible.
All right, who you got next?
So, I think it's your turn, because I said that Adam West was my number 4. So who's your number 4?
Well, I said Val Kilmer, because remember I said he's above Adam West, and it's not hard. So after that is Christian Bale.
Okay.
I think his voice has gotten a lot of bad.
I think if our top 3 is identical, I think that this is going to suck.
Well, no, I think I have a surprise here right after this. I think you're gonna hate me. But
Okay.
Christian Bale, I think he gets a lot of flack for his voice.
Okay.
But I think he did a good job. I think it was a good enough, but I think he was carried by a lot of things. That's why I'm also not going to put him higher. Because before you name yours, I'm actually going to put Robert Pattinson's Batman above Christian Bale.
Wait.
Before
We
the
didn't even
movie
enter
is even
Robert
out. I
Pattinson
know. I
into
don't
any of
care. I'm
this.
doing it right now. He's thrown in there because he's going to be better than Christian Bale, and he's going to be there for me. I told you, you're not going to be happy, B-word.
All right. So here's the thing, audience. Number 1, Jake is dumb. And number 2, my rankings are not going to include Robert Pattinson because I haven't seen him in action yet. And as of right now, I could probably see him maybe like going to my number 4 just because Clooney and Kilmer were that bad. But yeah, my number 3 is going to be Bale. I think in 2008, he was definitely the best Batman. Well, no, top 2. Top two. Because I don't know that he would ever replace Michael Keaton in my eyes. And so therefore I would always have like in 2008, Michael Keaton was 1A, Christian Bale was 1B. However, since then, I'm going to put Michael Keaton as number 2. And so I think by process of elimination here, did you say you're putting Keaton as number 2 as well?
Keaton's 2, so that means we love Batfleck.
So we love Batfleck. All right, man. So I've got my reasoning for loving Ben Affleck, and this is probably the moment. I mean, we're over an hour into this conversation now. This is the moment where people turn this shit off because they know our number 1. Why do you love Batfleck as Batman?
I think it was it was the best balance of practicality with like suits and toys and action and everything, but also still super enough to make it feel like it wasn't just like Christian Bale's where he paid Morgan Freeman a lot of money to make a cool suit. Does that make sense? Like
That makes a lot of sense.
It was the best of both worlds. You know, I love Frank Miller's iterations of Batman, and I love the giant bat, and I love the suit. Just every I think he just played it so well. He's got like the size, he's got like, if you look at him versus Superman, it makes sense. Like them standing next to each other. That's how, you know what I mean? And I'm not all for like they have to look apart to be cast as that. Because I mean, look what they did with Aquaman, and it's fucking badass, but would you ever expect that? I think he has done the best, and I think also as I did with Jared Leto earlier, I think it has the best potential for us to finally get, you know, something like Arkham Asylum, like you're saying, or even Batman Beyond, where you can continue Batfleck into it, and like he played such a good gruff Batman. We can keep this going, and I would love that. Why for you?
So real quick before I get into Batfleck and why he's number 1, my fear is that Batfleck is going to be done after Flashpoint, and like if they do Batman, I just said but if they do Batman Beyond, that it's going to be Michael Keaton that takes on that role. But I think that the way that Batman looks, so comic books are very much about a look. Like you have to have the build, you have to have the stature. And I think that Batfleck transformed his body to look that way without requiring much CGI. I think that he not only had the build, but he was also acting in violence, the same violence that you saw in the Frank Miller's arc of the Batman stories. And I thought that as far as the way that he handled the voice, like the voice was different. It was more gruff, and they showed that there was technology that was taking care of that. So it wasn't like this. You didn't have the Christian Bale voice, but you did have the voice of not even a robotic Batman, but it was just a lot more gruff, a lot dirtier than Ben Affleck's voice. And I thought that was really, really good. And I also loved the pain he brought to the character. Like you saw the hanging suit of Robin, and granted he was Bruce Wayne at this moment in the Batcave, but he brought that pain into acting as Batman. He brought that pain into being an old man Batman, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. And for that reason, he is my number 1 Batman.
Do you know what I imagine Ben Affleck was doing when he was showing that pain in those movies?
What?
He was reimagining Geely.
Yeah, you're probably right. And
He
and
just
guess
was
what?
like,
I think he's
Geely sucks.
I think he's reimagining Geely almost every night now. If we're being honest,
probably. Yeah.
yeah, he's breaking J-Lo's ass. She's gonna have to pay a deductible.
That's a high deductible, bro.
Well, man, this has been a good episode. I just want to wish you a happy National Batman Day again. I thought this was fun. This definitely went over our normal time frame, but I think we had some good conversation here. I would love to hear from the audience. Comment on us, tweet at us, send us a message. Do you agree with it? Do you hate it? What'd you think of the rankings? Just let us know. You can follow our socials at Bleach Bros Pod or at Bleach Bros Podcast. If you want to support us, make sure that you check out our Linktree, linktree.com/Bleach Bros Podcast for more information. And with that, Jake, what do you got for us?
A tip of the cow to you, and thanks for all the dirty talk.
Come back and get sanitized.